Vince Velasquez playing outfield, Roman Quinn on the mound. These are the kind of things that make baseball exciting, especially when it comes to the extra innings. Alright, so this episode is going to be a little different. As you can tell, Ryan is not here. We're trying a little something different scheduling wise. So today it'll just be me and a discussion that I think we have to have. This discussion will be the extra runner on second base and the speeding up of baseball. So, as you can tell, baseball has changed over the last few years after the pandemic, as we had to make the games quicker, and not as obviously the fans were not there. So to do this, they only had seventh inning double headers. They added a pinch runner on second base for extra innings, so that you didn't have to have a hitter on, as well as they added the pitch clock this past few years. Today I'll specifically be talking about the pinch runner to start extra innings, and Ryan and me will be having a discussion about the pitch clock later, as we have a disagreement on that. So to start, let's look back at 2019, before the rule was implemented. The Giants led the league with the most extra inning games, and in that they were only scoring .17 runs a game in extras. You compare that to 2023, last season, when Cleveland was leading the league in extra inning games, and they were only scoring .20. So you could see that runs are being scored more frequently now, that they've added this, but I still don't think it's good for the game. Me and Ryan, Lizzie and Ian went to the game a few weeks ago, and the drive there and the drive back took longer than being at the game. I say this because you go to a baseball game, you expect it to be long. You expect it to be a good old baseball game. With the speeding up of the game, you don't get that as much. You now see everything is quicker. The games are about 2 hours now, when you would usually settle in for about a 3-hour game. Doesn't defeat the traffic purposes or anything, so it's really just defeating the time down at the ballpark. So when you look even deeper into the stats, this season Cleveland is also leading the league in extra inning games, and they're scoring .25 runs a game with extras. So again, it's only going up with the runs as you have somebody starting on second base to start extra innings. So I will say, it is doing what the rule is supposed to do. It's speeding up baseball games. It's making, I guess, more offense if you look at you're scoring more. But you look at the hack of it of you can bunt that runner over immediately and have a runner on third with only one out. So pop-up pretty much can win you the game. That run was going as an earned run towards pitchers, which I know many have spoken out about, that they didn't like that because they didn't let that runner on, so that shouldn't count as an earned run for them. Overall, I think the rule is doing what it's supposed to do, but I don't think the rule is good for the game. I think going to the ballpark is about being at the ballpark. It's supposed to be a long game, and I think you take away the excitement of extra innings and, is a pitcher going to go play a different position, or who's going to be pitching? Is it going to be the first baseman? Is Rizzo going to be pitching, or is Roman Quinn going to be pitching, or some random player, Garrett Stubbs? So you take that away when you add these rules, because then the games don't go so deep to where you have to throw in random players. So it takes a little bit of the fun out. I know even back in the day, having games where it's like, you go to sleep and you wake up and it's like the 15th inning. You don't get that anymore. Games are maxing out around the 12th inning at this point. So you're really not even going deep into the bullpen at that point. So it's just taking that extra fun and like little league play out of baseball, which was always the fun part. You're kind of taking that out. Even with something like adding the DH to the National League. People would say, the pitcher was just an automatic out. We have Johan Rojas on the Phillies. He's an automatic out. But you're not getting any more enjoyment out of the game. You're not pinch hitting now. The pitchers aren't batting, which was obviously, yes, they're mostly an out, but on the rare occasion you have a Bartolo Colon home run or something, it adds that excitement to the game. So I feel like little by little baseball is changing to a point where it's not the good old like America's pastime. They're trying to speed everything up because nobody has an attention span anymore. And I feel like there's other sports for that. You have basketball is fast-paced, hockey's fast-paced, football can be fast-paced, really not. But those sports aren't changing the way they are. Baseball is trying to gain fans by making it shorter, but it's not. And I mean, there's fans that have watched baseball who like it, but at the same time, it's not appealing to the sport that it was. So I think baseball itself has changed, obviously, with speeding up, but I don't think it's better for the sport. Seton Hall Sports Poll has said it's asked 1,500 people about the rule, and 17% of the general public have approved. But there was only 28% of among sports fans and the general public, and 41% of fans were avid fans. The disapproval rating stood at 33%, 40%, and 30%, respectively, among the three groups. So the big baseball fans aren't as thrilled with it as obviously the new fans would be. And in 2021, just 16 games lasted more than 11 innings, was 60 in 2019. So before the rule is implemented, you have 60 games that can string on for a long time. Since the rule, only 16 games in 2021. And only one game went to 15 innings versus 15 go to extra innings, or 15 innings in 2019. So you really see the difference. Again, if you're on the one side of baseball needs to be quicker, one, baseball is not the sport for you, and two, it's the rules working. But if you like baseball for what it was a pastime, it was you're going to settle in for a long game, then this new rules is taking that away from you. And as me and Ryan will talk about later this week, the pitch clock I feel like is doing the same thing. As you keep speeding up the game, you're seeing injuries, and it's just not the same game. But we will get into that next week. So we're going to try and make these videos a little bit shorter for you guys. So that would be my argument for that. While I'm here, I would also like to discuss a few books with you guys. First, Loud by Angelo Cataldi, 94.7 or 94.1 broadcaster for Philadelphia sports for about 30 years. He retired a few years ago. Found the book, though, as I'm looking to get into sports writing and broadcasting, and it was very inspirational, but also like interesting to hear the background of how you get into the position. Just having listened to 94.1 for a long time, just the background of the stories through the thing, like the inside jokes and everything they get into. And on the other hand, I have another book, Deion Sanders, Elevate and Dominate. This book was one, I'm not a big reader, but it's one I couldn't put down. Talks a lot about being a leader, healing and growing, and following your dreams and passions. It's one, he says in the book, it's one that you're supposed to continually look at more like a journal and a way to live by. So it was very interesting, and I would definitely recommend both these books to anybody looking for a sports read, but not necessarily like a all about me kind of thing. So yeah, that would be this episode here of Tailgating with the Tullys, and I'm CJ, and Ryan will be putting out a video soon. Thanks.